A fun graduation trip can turn into disaster in the blink of an eye. The ship is caught in stormy weather. The ship's captain has asked all passengers to leave the deck as soon as possible. He asked the students to get on deck as quickly as possible, as the storm was moving too fast. But a disaster was unavoidable and the two students were stranded on a deserted island, with only a few elementary school items. A boy is left with a beautiful girl on an uninhabited island. Will we survive? The story begins when the best student of the school, Gao Qingyu, is about to confess his love to the school goddess Ellen. He got down on one knee, held out a bouquet of roses and asked her out. Everyone else asked her to say yes. Gao Qingyu was not only handsome, but also talented, and Ellen wasn't bad either. She had such a beautiful voice. She was so talented that international companies wanted to take her. They're like Jack and Rose from Titanic. At this time one of the graduates was sitting far away from the others and watched the show. He thought, "Master, the shows are so interesting that no matter how many times I watch, I never get bored." Suddenly a storm came up and the captain of the boat told everyone to leave the deck and get into the cabin as the storm was coming in too fast. At that moment he thought, who among the graduates remembered the Titanic? It was already too late to head for the cabins. One of the students exclaimed, "Qin Tian, what are you doing? Go back to the booth." But at the last moment, he grabbed the life preserver. At this time, the storm was terrifying. The waves were over 20 meters and the ship could not withstand the storm and the ship went down. Qin was tossed ashore on the island. Suddenly the system started to load. A notification came out in front of him. "You got a rookie packet, want to open it?" Qin woke up and was shocked that he had survived. He looked around and was very surprised. He sat down near a tree and thought, "It seems that it is because of this lifeline that I did not die. There are no signs of human life on the island, at least it is an uninhabited island." Generally, after a shipwreck, the search and rescue team will go only after identifying the missing. If nothing happens, the search and rescue team will find the place within 5 days. That means, worst case scenario, I have to be on this island for at least 6 days before I can wait for the rescue team. But luckily, there are a lot of coconut trees on this island and I can survive for more than a week. When I was fascinated by Master Da, I bought the same kit and never used it, but today the kit will help me for survival. Qin opened one of the coconuts and realized that the milk in the coconut was old, so he would have to drink 5 more coconuts to supply his body. He remembered when he was still unconscious, he heard some kind of system. At that moment, a screen appeared in front of him. "Do you want to open the pledge packet?" Qin choked and exclaimed, "What is this?" "A 3D projection." He clicked on the pledge packet. "Congratulations on your purchase of common plants and common animals." Qin thought, are they mocking him? How is he going to read books on the island? Suddenly the infiltration skills activated and blue beams went to his head. He sat up and grabbed his head with his hands and thought, maybe it's my imagination. I can feel myself getting a lot of strange knowledge in my head. Qin looked at the coconut and he saw all the detailed information about the coconut. Qin thought, the book is a good gift from the system, it can be implanted in my mind, what a good help. He stood up and at that moment he heard someone scream. He was puzzled, is there anyone else on this island? Qin went deep into the woods from where he heard the screams. He ran up to the place and was very surprised. It was Ellen. There was a snake approaching her and she was very scared. He looked at the snake and he got all the information about the snake. It was poisonous. Ellen cried out, "Please save me." Qin grabbed the snake by the tail and hit the tree. He said that this snake is very poisonous. If it bites you will be left disabled at best. Qin and Lin met their eyes. Qin said to her, "Can you get dressed?" She said, "Pervert, close your eyes and turn away." I wanted to hide behind the trees to take off and dry my clothes. I never thought something like this could happen, what a shame. She looked at him and thought, he's a good guy, he saved my life. Am I that ugly? He doesn't even look at me, he's gone so fast. Thank you so much, my name is Ellen, I go to university. He said his name is Qin Tian and he's a student too. Ellen took him by the hand and asked, "Were you also shipwrecked? Have I met someone as unlucky as me?" She sat down next to him and started drinking the coconut. She really liked it, Chin thought. It seems she needs more water than me. Chin asked her, "Do you have anything you can use to contact the outside world, like a phone or a radio?" "No, when I washed ashore, my things were gone. But that's all right, a lot of people died in the shipwreck. After such a big accident, a search team will be sent quickly. If we are here, we have a chance to be rescued." Chin was surprised, because it's pretty rare to meet a girl who stays calm under such circumstances, but she's too optimistic. "Since it's been a whole night and no help has come, can we make it until the rescuers come?" He told her perhaps rescue teams are on their way, but that just in case we should prepare a fire for the night to ward off insects and snakes. "Yes, you're right, we need a fire." They decided to walk along the shore, hoping to find a lighter or some other object that would help them build a fire. But an hour later, they found nothing. Chin thought, at first glance there was only forest and sand on the island, not a trace of human presence, as if the island was isolated from the rest of the world. Ellen asked him, what did he mean? Chin wondered, do we really have to cut down trees? At that time Ellen found some kind of bottle. He got upset and wanted to throw it away. But Chin told her to stop. But she said it was just a plastic bottle. What was interesting about it? He replied that they could make a fire with it, because statistically, accidental fires in the forest occur because of improper disposal of plastic bottles. The reason is that a plastic bottle filled with water acts like a magnifying glass at a certain angle, focusing the light as it passes through it and igniting the leaves. After 15 minutes, they managed to get the fire going. Deep into the night they were sitting around the fire. Ellen said, "How long do you think it will be before the rescue team finds us, and if we starve to death?" Chin wondered, she's not optimistic today, she's even a little depressed. Is it because she's tired of looking for supplies? The most important thing when surviving is to always be positive. If you're depressed, you're dead. I have to cheer her up. Like you said, it will take about 3 days to find us and this place. At worst we will be here for a week. And you don't have to worry about food. The beach is full of coconut palms, and even if we drink coconut milk, we can live on that for a week. She asked, "Are you sure?" He said he was 100% sure. Suddenly he pulled out a knife and a snake. Ellen asked him what he was going to do with it. He started to cut it up. Ellen said, "What are you doing? Don't tell me you are going to fry a snake for supper." Chin jokingly asked her, "Are you happy? We're going to eat meat." She said that if she died of starvation or drowned in the sea, she wouldn't eat snake meat. Chin replied, "It's wonderful to have food on a desert island. Why are you complaining? So squeamish, I don't think you can continue to starve. This snake meat is so crispy on the outside and soft on the inside, what a treat." She didn't want to look at it and turned away from him. He went on teasing her. Ellen exclaimed, "Enough." Chin asked, "What? What is wrong?" She took the snake meat and said, "I'll eat it," satisfied. "Fine, settle down." She took a bite of the meat and said, "It smells really good." Chin wondered how lucky they were to get a snake, otherwise they would have had to starve tonight. Today the system was off for some reason and he didn't know how to turn it back on. At that moment a screen appeared in front of him and he was very surprised. It said the master had made a fire and got 100 points. Ellen asked him what happened. Chin replied, "Nothing, just a bug got under his shirt." He wondered, apparently only I can see this system. Even though the two of us are on the island, there is no telling when we will be rescued. People are unpredictable. I have only been with Ellen for 1 day and I don't know what kind of person she is yet. If I tell her about my system she might blab to someone. I wouldn't want to be turned in for experiments. No one should know about it, so it's better not to tell Ellen about the system. As long as she can't see the system, I don't have to worry. It's not hard to understand the online game system, but I'm not quite sure what I can exchange my 100 points for in the store. Is this system reproduced by the brain? No doubt the system appears as soon as I think of it. There are no descriptions of the items, but you can tell from the name what they are for. What is it? I don't know why, but I feel this book is very cool. Who even thought of putting this book in here? I can't buy it, plus it doesn't even show the cover. It's really expensive in the store, the cheapest item costs 2,000 points, so I can't buy anything with my 100 points. And on the main page there's no task list, so I don't know how to earn more points. I guess I have to explore everything by myself. After a while Chin and Ellen decided to go to bed. Chin wondered, with coconuts they could live until the rescue team, but the low has only carbohydrates and no protein. He realized that he would need to collect fish and shrimp from the shore tomorrow, at low tide. Suddenly he stood up and looked at Ellen. Oh, I guess she's not afraid of me, so she just fell asleep like that. Well, we'll talk to her about it tomorrow. In the middle of the night Chin woke up. He wondered what was wrong, why had it gotten so cold? He went over to Ellen and tried to wake her up. He touched her and was surprised that her body was cold. At that moment she woke up and screamed, "What are you doing? I thought you were a good man, but I never thought you really were. Don't even think about it if there are only two of us here." He didn't want to listen to her and Chin turned around and sat down by the fire and said, "If you don't want to freeze to death, I suggest you come over to the fire." At that moment she realized that he didn't want to do anything to her, but just to warn her about the cold. Sitting by the fire Chin wondered, the difference in temperature between day and night on the island is so amazing, it defies science. What's worse, we are close to the equator, it's warm, but Ellen and I don't have enough clothes. Chin looked at Ellen and said the current temperature is too low, I'm worried that there is a chance of freezing to death, I guess it's better to hug each other, to maintain the temperature to get through this night. Ellen exclaimed, "No, don't even think about it." They continued to sit around the fire, hoping to keep warm. But after a while Alina was too cold, she thought they still needed a hug to survive, but she hadn't been this close to the guys before. If it wasn't for Chin Tian, there wouldn't be a fire here. She stood up and said she was ready to hug. She asked to close her eyes and not look. Chin asked her surprised, "Why are you undressing?" Ellen answered, "Didn't people on TV take their clothes off to protect themselves from the cold?" "No, not really. If there are too many clothes, which prevents heat from each other, then it is necessary to take off our clothes, but our clothes are thin, so there is no need to take off our clothes." They were embarrassed to hug each other, they were very uncomfortable. But Chin still dared to hug her. The next morning, they woke up at first light. Ellen happily got up and said, "Chin, look, it's dawn already. It's beautiful." Chin got up and said, "It's low tide time, let's go catch the shrimp and crabs that were thrown ashore." They started collecting crabs. At one point a crab got caught on Ellen's finger. She asked for help but Chin said she could use a rock to unhook the crab. After 2 hours they had collected a large number of crabs for today's breakfast. She saw him carving up the crabs and throwing away the shell. She asked why he was throwing away the shell, there was still a lot of meat in them. He said, "If you want to eat the shells, eat them, but you won't eat many crabs." Ellen wondered why. "I caught half of them. The crabs are cold and if you eat a lot of them you get indigestion." They sat around the fire and cooked crabs. Chin said, "We can't stay on the beach tonight, let's go to the forest and build a shelter to protect ourselves from the cold wind." She asked, "Why can't we build a house by the sea?" Chin said there was plenty of wood and other materials in the forest, also for building a shelter, and there was more food. But before they left, they had to collect water from the coconuts and make a sign of identification in case the rescuers found this island. From the stones they made the word SOS and set off into the forest. Walking through the forest, Chin thought about it, for he used to watch shows on TV and thought that surviving in the wild was interesting, but now he wanted to go back to his room, lie down on his bed and get a good night's sleep. "I constantly feel like out of all these dark corners a lot of evil eyes are looking at us." At this point Ellen asked what he was looking for. Chin answered, "Why do you ask? On the way you were always looking through the bushes, even a fool would have known you were looking for something." He said that the snake they had seen yesterday is called Cynonatrix annularis. It lives in fresh water and occasionally crawls out to the shore looking for prey. Ellen was glad, because that meant there was fresh water on the island, but how would he know where the fresh water was, for the forest is very large. At that moment, Chin saw a trail of animals, and it led to a water source. Ellen was surprised. She said, "Animals and people are the same, we all need to drink, and it looks like this path was led by animals to the water source." Chin said, "What a wonderful student, so quickly understood the point. Why do I think that was a compliment?" "Why not?" "You think too much." She asked how he knows so much. "You used to like to go camping." Chin replied, "Can you consider me a person who likes to travel while at home? The forest is bigger than I thought. If we don't find the spring by noon, we'll have to make a fire so we don't waste time on it later." At that moment Ellen heard a sound and tried to hear where it came from. Chin also heard the sound and understood where it came from, so he took Ellen's hand and ran towards it. After pushing the bushes apart, they came to the water source. They came to the water and were glad they had found the source. Ellen wanted to drink from the spring, but Chin stopped her and told her she shouldn't drink the water, as it contains bacteria. After a while, Ellen asked him why didn't we put the tent by the water, wouldn't it be more convenient? Chin said, "If we pitched near the water, you would probably meet wild animals looking for water. Don't worry, as soon as it rains we will collect water." Suddenly they found the perfect place to build a tent. It was surrounded by tall trees and there was no slope. Chin handed her a knife and told her to find and cut the big leaves, and he would make a fire and find a tree to make a tent. The jungle is all humid, so the trees are not always suitable for making a fire. Judging by the sun, it's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll only have time to build one tent by evening. I remember we passed near trees the size of my hand. We can use them to make a tent. In just what we use to cut them down, the knife is too short. A German TV program taught people how to make a stone axe with 2 stones. But I don't have much time to make an axe. It is too costly to use this stone. It takes me half an hour to cut down one tree, but luckily I need one tree and then break off 3 branches from it. I was only able to cut down 9 trees before sunset. I have to go back. This bundle of trees weighs over 30 pounds. I helped my dad plant sugar trees in the summer. It has helped me now." When he got there, Ellen was waiting for him. She was happy to see him. "Chin, look what I found. It's a banana tree fox. There are banana trees 100 miles from the river." "That's good. Now we have to build a tent. We are short on time and materials, so we will build a small tent to survive the cold night. One side will be wooden sticks and a wall." "What about the leaves? Do we have to drape them with the wood?" "No, we use a knife to sharpen the tree. Split the biggest branch of the tree into 2 parts. First we sharpen the stick. Then we push it into the ground. And finally, we put the wall on top of the sticks." Ellen asked sadly why was the tent only on one side. Chin said we didn't have much time and the heat from the fire would be right on top of us. Suddenly he got another notification. It said, "Build a hideous tent, you got 1,000 points." Great, now even the system is laughing in my face. Chin and Ellen were sitting by the fire. Now we have a tent, we won't freeze to death, but what about food? Now the only food sources here are seafood and coconuts. Ellen exclaimed, "Nevertheless, they grow next to the sea sand. This place is at least an hour's walk from the beach." Chin suggested we go tomorrow to the banana jungle she was talking about. At that moment a mosquito landed on his arm. Ellen slapped his hand. He asked, "What are you doing?" She showed him her hand and said there was a mosquito sitting on his arm. Chin was frightened because mosquitoes in the jungle are poisonous. One of their bites can easily leave a swelling on the skin. The more bites from mosquitoes, the greater the chance of getting a fever. At this point the mosquitoes attacked Ellen. She asked Chin for help. He whistled loudly and all the mosquitoes were distracted by him. He put green leaves into the fire and the smoke started. Chin said the smoke would keep them away from the mosquitoes for a while. He said that unlike the beach, there must be a lot of wildlife around us. I think we will take turns being on duty at night. But at this point Ellen was already asleep. He put her in the tent because she hasn't slept last night and she's tired for tonight. It looks like I'll be the only one on duty tonight. It's going to be a long night, why don't I make a rope, it might come in handy in the future. It was a great morning in the woods. Ellen woke up and said, "You woke up too early, where did you get the rope? Did you make it yourself?" Chin looked at her and said, "It will be you watching at night or I will kill you." "Huh, forgive me, I was very tired last night, you should get some sleep this night and I'll keep watch." They came to the water source and Chin asked her where she saw the banana jungle. She said the banana jungle is very close, you have to walk along the creek for about 100 miles.